Today's video is actually quite advanced training, so please do take care if you choose to follow. So my name is Toby. This is part 4 of my series on effortless walking, and today I'm going to be working on bouncing. This is an elasticity in the joints, the ligaments. Now what I'm doing here is a frog jump. I'm squatting all the way down and I'm going to be jumping up. So you can see it's already quite advanced. It requires a certain amount of flexibility. Now what I'm doing is I'm on the ball of the foot, the ankle is stretched and I'm projecting the hips backwards. So it's not in the knee, it's in the ankle and the hips. So my spine is neutral, I've got a backwards arch in the spine. Now to come up, you see it's a sequence. The hips got to rise up a little bit first, and then the pelvis pushes forward, or the hips push forward, and it bounces you up. It's on the ball of the foot, so it's the ankles and the hips, not the knee. And again, when you land, you're cushioning from the ankles and allowing the hips to project backwards. So that's why it looks a bit comical as well. It looks like a frog jumping, but it's the most efficient way of using your body. The ligaments are very strong and elastic, and I'm trying to access that elasticity. So here, as I go down the hips, I'm really projecting out the hip joints. So if you can't do this, you can do just a little way and then come up again, just trying to feel yourself bouncing on the hips and the ankles. But I want to show you the full thing. So the lower you go, the further your hips project. Now I've got a stretch in the ankles. So the hips are projecting way out, really feeling the stretch in the hip joint. Belly is pulled in tight. There's still a backwards arch. Now I'm bouncing already on the ankles and the hips. There's a little bounce. It's not the knees. Very careful of the knees. You've got to take it into the ankles, which is the Achilles tendon, very strong tendon, and the hips themselves, the ligaments in the hips. Then it'll feel natural. You'll feel the bounce. And you just want to come up, you see, because there's a stretch in the hip joint and a stretch in the ankle. It wants to pull back in. It wants to go up. Now the trick is, because you've gone so low, I've got to put the hips up forwards first. So rather, you lift the hips up here. So lift the hips up behind, then lever forward. Then push the hips inwards to jump up. So there's a sequence. First the hips rise up, then you straighten up. You've got to play with this. If you don't squat so low, you don't have to do this. But once your hips have dropped below the knees, you've got to lift the hips up above the knees before you start to straighten up the legs. So here I'm leaning forward, projecting the hips, then squeezing the glutes, pushing the toes into the ground, really projecting, going up onto the tippy toes. This is also like dancing, like ballet, and cushioning it in the same way down, catching on the tippy toes through the ankle, allowing the knees to bend, but I'm not taking the force in the knees. I'm then allowing the hips to project straight away, allow the hips to project. So that's where the cushion is, the ankles and the hips. Now you can see we're starting to use this bounce to walking along. Now it's a bit easier, so most of you should be able to try this. But what I'm trying to do is that same spring, that frog leg bounce, that jump I was just doing, but one leg only. And you can see I'm doing a little skip. I'm jumping quite fast or quite strong, so that's causing me to skip. And now I'm landing on the front foot. So now from the back foot, I'm landing from the front foot. But as you can see, this is now moving towards taking big, more powerful steps. This is the power you need for power walking. It's got to come from the hips. Now you see one leg landing, cushion into the hip and cushion into the ankle. You see the ankle and the hip, not the knee. Now you see it wants to bounce back again. It's a bounce. I'm bouncing through the ligaments in my body. It's a particular skill. I'm not using muscles. I've got to use the tendons, the ligaments. And the only way you can do that is by careful training, careful practice. You've got to feel inside your body and experiment with it. And you can see now, just hopping and skipping around, it's starting to move into martial arts, because it's a bounce, and that bounce you can use for kicks and punches and all sorts of things in martial arts, but of course all types of body dynamics. So I hope this little video made sense. Please let me know any questions or comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.